Never fear, Sinders is here. And today I bring to you a discussion for Doctor Who Series 9, Episode 6, The Woman Who Lived. And the first thing I want to bring up is a little bit of discussion about the Doctor and his devices. We'll start off with a bit of a clip, or a few clips here.
Right. We are cursed. Usually someone hits me at this point, but she's taking the year 7's for Thai Kwang Do. Oh. Yes, got you! Oh, hang on. I didn't know better. This was a robbery. I am robbing my curio scanner. Oh, it scans for curios. I just realised how I got its name. It's been tracking exoplanetary energy for the last couple of weeks. I've been following it across the galaxy.
Okay, so as we have seen, the 12th Doctor has a tendency to use devices. He created one dealing with the one alien when he played the janitor in the first season, and he's got one here, which he's named. And funnily enough, he names it, and then he's like, "I just now realized why I named it this." It's kind of funny, but you know, this Doctor has a tendency to do that. But he's not the first. The first Doctor to really have a tendency to create devices like this is probably the third Doctor, to the point where he even modified his own automobile to have a bunch of different cool features to it. Of course, the third Doctor was kind of the James Bond of Doctor Who, in a sense. At least that's what he was supposed to be, like that anyway. And so the third Doctor was the first to do that, and it was a common thing for the third Doctor. And a few other Doctors have done this. Of course, in New Who, most notably, it was 10th Doctor who had a tendency to do this. And we see 10th Doctor create several gadgets. He's got his machine that goes ding when it finds Zygons. Excuse me. Machine that goes ding when it finds Zygons, and a few other machines like that to, usually like this, to find something or recognize something. So yeah, the 12th Doctor is not new at this, but this does seem to be a theme that's going to be common for the 12th Doctor, is to create devices. Obviously, the sonic shades was an extension of this aspect of the 12th Doctor. Okay, so the next aspect I want to talk about is the immortality of Ishildr. As the Doctor still calls her in this episode, it's not what she calls herself. She calls herself me. So let's watch a few of these clips dealing with the discussion within the episode of her immortality and how it's affected who she has become so far.
What do you call yourself?
Me?
Yes, you. There's nobody else here.
No. I call myself me. All the other names I chose died with whoever knew me. Me is who I am now. No one's mother, daughter, wife. My own companion. Singular. Unattached. Alone. For the adventure, Doctor. Isn't that what life's all about? I've had 800 years of adventure. Enough to fill a library if you write it down.
You're immortal, not indestructible. It'll be hard. Kill and leave.
I can't remember most of it. That's the trouble with an infinite life and size memory.
People like us, we go on too long. We forget what matters. The last thing we need is each other. Not first, we need to travel with other mortal ones. Captain Jack Harkness.
Okay, so you see she's kind of developed a bit like the Doctor. Unfortunately, one difference is having a normal human brain, unlike the Doctor, she remembers. She has even more trouble remembering things than the Doctor does. Although that's one of the characteristics of the 12th Doctor is he's horrible at remembering things. He's lived long enough himself that he can't always quickly recall things. And so he struggles with remembering his face. Where did this come from? He struggles remembering villains he's faced before. That is part of this Doctor as well. And Ishildr is the same way in that regard. She's lived 800 years now at this point, and she cannot remember everything that has happened to her. Fortunately for her, she's written a lot of it down to help her recall, probably because she realized when she started that she was starting to forget and having trouble remembering things. That, or she worried she might, and so she started writing things down. Whatever the case is, she's got a library of her own life. And of course, like the Doctor, she thrives on adventure. Something that Clara has also started to do. She thrives on the adventure. Rose thrived on the adventure. Not all the companions have thrived on it the same way, but some of them have. Clara probably being the most obvious. And in a lot of ways, Clara has become like the Doctor in that regard. And Ashildr is also. She thrives on the adventure of life. But at this point, she feels like she's mastered everything this life has to offer her. Another aspect to her immortality, which is different, because he mentions Jack as being an immortal, but there are differences between her and Jack. Jack's immortality is very, very different. Whereas the Doctor says she can die. It's just minor things, illnesses, stuff like that, but she can be killed. Whereas Jack, kind of like her, has to learn to deal with, and we see most of what Jack dealing with his immortality is done kind of off screen. But he has to learn to deal with his immortality. The fact that he actually can't die. I mean, we see him get burnt to a crisp, almost turned to nothing, and he regenerates. He actually has a regenerative ability that Ishildr doesn't have. Now, she's lived long enough and she's spent time mastering a lot of skills, but she can die, she can be killed. Her body's not going to regenerate anything near like Jack does. Of course, we know somewhere along the line Jack's body gets distorted. I still think we need to see a storyline on how that happens. And of course, the mention of Jack is a unique thing, an interesting thing. I mean, it is there to make a comparison on her immortality. And, one of the things that does seem different for Jack is he's not lost all of the things that the Doctor and Ishildr seem to have lost in their perspective for humanity. Jack gets so caught up in the humanity of things, the thrill of life. Jack thrives on that as much as he does anything else. Jack thrives on that, whereas the Doctor, and as the Doctor acknowledges in Ishildr, their views are more distant. And one of the things about Jack is the Doctor is afraid to travel with Jack because he calls him a fixed point. we don't quite get that with the Ishildr. The Doctor is glad he's made her now. He's made her immortal now. He worries for her some, but his reason for not traveling with her is not because he's a fixed point and the fixed point's going to be an issue, but because he's worried because they're too similar, and there would not be the dynamic that his other companions provide him in keeping him tied to humanity, keeping him tied to caring, and that other perspective that they simply bring by being mortal humans. That's a part of why the Doctor travels with other people, other beings, is because they provide a different perspective he needs, and traveling with the Ishildr would not do that. Ishildr completely lost perspective, and his showing up helps her in the story to regain it, at least for a while. And we don't know how long she keeps that perspective, but we'll probably find that out. And that's the last bit we want to look at here, is they definitely set up Ishildr to return. Whether she will or not, it's very well open for her to do so.
Travel with another immortal once. Captain Jack Harkness.
Who?
We'll be around you eventually. Extraordinary woman, Ashildr. But I think I'm going to have to keep an eye on you. No.
Someone has to look out for the people you abandon. You better than me. It's your friends you have to watch out for. And my friend. I'll be watching out for you.
Ashildr. I think I'm very glad I saved you.
Oh, I think everyone would be.
And of course, there she is in the background of the picture, watching out for him. Okay, so a few things to mention with that. First off is, this Doctor makes a reference of Jack catching up to her. So either whether or not they do it in the main series or they put it somewhere into one of these audiobook stories that they're producing with the Big Finish audio and such, someone's got to tell the story of that, where Jack and Ishildr run into each other. So that means Jack's got to come back somewhere. It would be great to have Jack and Ishildr in an episode with the Doctor, specifically the 12th Doctor, and it be a TV episode. That would be great. I don't know if that's happening or not. I'm not making any promises there, but that's something the Doctor just seems to allude to being highly likely to happen. As much as she's going to blend into the background, Jack tries his best to blend into the background a lot. He's confident they're going to run into each other at some point, for whatever reason. Maybe he already knows they have. I can't think of how that would take place, but maybe he's confident they already have. Given what she says about her setting up a role to watch over him and the people he interacts with, makes me wonder if she's part of she starts some group, becomes part of some group like Torchwood that keeps an eye on him. How that's going to play out, I don't know, but definitely opens up to the possibility specifically of her returning, but it also opens up the possibility of Jack finally having a reason to come back for an episode or two. It's also curious that if they're going to find a way to write her back into previous events that have happened. Obviously, she's been on Earth for a long time, and she already knows the Doctor's been on Earth multiple times. but during this 800 time span she's been alive, and obviously that he will be back on Earth many, many times in the future. So, you know, how often has she been watching the Doctor? Has she played a part in any of these events in some way or another? There's a lot of questions to be answered there that we don't know. And that's kind of cool, I think, that it is open. There is an opening for some of those things to happen. How that's going to work, don't know. I look forward to finding out, though. And hopefully, you will as well. This is Super Saiyan 7 Cindrish, and this has been another episode discussion for Doctor Who. I thank you for watching. I hope you'll like the video if you enjoyed the content. If you have not done so, please subscribe to my channel. Feel free to share these videos, these discussions, and we'll be back with another episode in the near future.